Morning all, how are you all doing? Happy Monday. Another week of sideways, probably. How is everybody? All good? Everyone have good weekends? Morning, JC, Steve, Evil, Peter, Virginia, Chucks, XR, Update.news, Senji, Rothwither. Can't even talk this morning. Morning, Callum. Spent on ICT SMC tutorials. Why can't I speak this morning? Something's gone wrong. Really? Oh dear. The end of your next few months then. Morning, George. Right, so let's have a look at the weekend's news to start with. It's a funny week this week. We've got FOMC this week. We've got the interest rates for New Zealand, and we've got not a lot else really. It's PMI week, but a bit of a mixed bag this week, and it's spread out throughout the whole week. So we'll see what happens. But weekend-wise, nothing much happened. Last news we had on Friday was Bowman saying that the inflation was temporary. Inflation decline was temporary, which we know, which is why we haven't done anything with interest rates. But the only real news we've had over the weekend is that the Iranian president has been killed. So very breaking news that. Well, let's say breaking news. It was yesterday, but it looks like it was just an accident and it was bad weather. But obviously, they have just shot a load of missiles at Israel, the Iranians. So we will see. If there is any speculation by Israel, by Iran rather, that they say something nefarious, or they've shot it down or anything stupid like that, then it could cause an escalation, which will cause a safe haven run into the Swiss franc and the yen. So we'll see. So far, the markets, you would expect the markets to have reacted already this morning if that was the case, and they haven't. So I think it's just an accident, unfortunately. So that's really the only breaking news we've had over the weekend that could affect the markets. The Australian dollar is continuing its massive rally, still going mental. Copper price is going through the roof, one of the main exports of Australia. So obviously the Aussie is getting a big pump off the back of this sort of copper frenzy, basically. But it isn't, it is still pushing, but it is it's not a dramatic push. So there's nothing much else happened over the weekend at all. Very flat weekend. June meeting likely to start the rate cuts from Kazakhs this morning. So yeah, we know that. Nothing new there. So this week, we'll have a look at the news. Today is a bank holiday in Europe. It is bank holiday also in Canada today. So I haven't looked at the DAX this morning, but I would imagine there's nothing yet. So the DAX is dead this morning. The German stock market is open, but obviously the banks, the DAX and bank holidays in Germany are very weird because we call it a bank holiday. Banks don't actually shut though. They just don't have staff, but they are still transacting. So you see at the moment we've got the DAX is open, but there is nothing happening. There is no volume at all. Range size at the open 140. Tiny, absolutely tiny movement. So there's no movement there. You do find that it has a kick onto the UK markets as well. So likely to have a very quiet morning today. We'll see what happens, but you just need to be aware of that. There's not an awful lot of action going on this morning. So today might be quite quiet. Canada shut this afternoon as well, but obviously the US session is going to be normal, but there's no scheduled news at all. We've got the monetary policy meeting minutes tomorrow for the Aussie. That is marked as orange, but we need to just be aware there's at any point at the moment, the Aussies and the New Zealanders, they've been very quiet about what they're doing with interest rates. So at any point during these meeting minutes, there could be hints as to when they're going to start to drop rates. or if they are indeed going to start to drop rates. So we do need to pay attention to that. You might find there's big spiky movements in the Aussie when these things come out. So just be aware of that tomorrow morning. We've got Lagarde speaking tomorrow morning, but the main news tomorrow is CPI. So beyond for CPI tomorrow afternoon. I'm streaming at 1:15 tomorrow afternoon, so we'll watch what happens with the inflation figures for the Canadian dollar. The CAD is very tightly linked with the US. The US are definitely not moving their interest rates at the moment this year, as far as we know. So the question is going to be, are the Canadians, like the Europeans, going to uncouple from the US dollar and basically go with interest rate drops before the US? This number is going to tell us what that's going to be. So at the moment, the fundamentals on the Canadian are 2.9 for inflation. It did tick up ever so slightly on the last numbers. But when you compare that to 3.4 for the US, they are actually getting ahead of the US, getting that inflation figure down. As we know, they didn't need to go as high on interest rates. So there is a chance that we're going to start to hear news about interest rate drops on that, and possibly before the US dollar. So could find some weakness on that CAD tomorrow. So if that number comes out as, even if it comes out as forecast, because they're forecasting a drop from 0.6 to 0.5, everything is forecasting a drop. So if we get that drop, it could be the market is going to think, right, interest rates are going to start to come down quicker than expected. We see a decline in the Canadian dollar. If it comes out lower than forecast, we will definitely have a big drop in that CAD. So we'll see. It's an important one tomorrow for the Canadians. Waller speaking in the afternoon, Bailey speaking in the evening. So we need to definitely pay attention to that one, because we're still unsure as to when we're going to change interest rates. So potential movement tomorrow evening after the banks have closed on the pound. Wednesday, we've got the rates for New Zealand dollar, 5.5 forecast. We're not going to get anything different. We haven't heard anything from the New Zealanders or the Aussies about interest rates. They are dead quiet at the moment. There's no reason for them to drop interest rates at the minute. We're still up at 3.6 for the Aussies. We're still up at 4 for the New Zealanders. They're not dropping rates. It is coming down nicely, but as we know, it bounces. So there's no movement planned on that. But the last 2 times we've had moves on that, or rather no new news on the New Zealand dollar. Let's look at New Zealand US. So as we know, the last 2 times they haven't changed the interest rates there. Hang on, no. Sorry, that's gone back way too far. That's October last year. Where are we? There. Yeah, so that was them not changing the interest rates. We've had very, very big reactions. So there's a good chance that even if they don't change the number, which we're not expecting them to, we will have a big spiky move from the New Zealanders. So that's going to be quite important. So streaming 8 o'clock Wednesday morning to unpick what happens with that. We've also got the pound CPI numbers as well, year on year, not quarterly, but they are still important. That inflation figure is forecast at 2.1. Target is 2. Yeah. So if that comes out lower than forecast, we are going to drop those interest rates. So Bailey is speaking the day before. So we need to listen for clues as to possibly knowing what that is. We could find some big moves on the pound this week. After that, we've got FOMC meeting minutes. There's no press conference. So there's unlikely to be anything in there from the Fed as to directional bias or anything like that, because it's not a press conference. So it is just the meeting minutes. They're not going to say in the meeting minutes what they're thinking. So I doubt we'll get movement off of that. Knee-jerk reaction. That's all we should expect. Euros, we've got the PMIs coming up this week. So this is basically kind of inflation for manufacturing, if you like. So we've got the French, the German, which makes up 90% of the Eurozone. We've got the pound as well. And then we've got the US PMIs coming out in the afternoon. So Thursday, big volume day, potentially lots of movement all over the place on Thursday. And then Friday, we've got pound retail, and that's it, dead. And obviously Michigan, which does what the hell it likes. That's more of an unwinding profit news event. So it can do anything that or nothing. Going into next week, Monday's a bank holiday. I'm not going to stream next week because it's the half-term holidays. So I should be taking next week off. But it's a bank holiday on Monday anyway, everywhere. And then into next week, we've got Aussie CPI is the kind of main news next week. We've got the Japanese CPI as well. But there's a very, very light news week next week. Always is when it's a holiday. It's very, very quiet. So very little news next week. It is end of month. You need to bear that in mind. It's not end of quarter. So we're bang in the middle of the quarter at the moment in May. So we shouldn't get massive volume at the end of next week. But obviously just bear in mind they do unwind positions at end of month for commissions, targets, that sort of stuff. So, but that's really your only news event next week. So we'll have a look at next week on Friday in a bit more detail. But there's nothing in there really that is going to move the market dramatically, I don't think, next week. Literally, it's that CPI for the Aussies. And obviously that could be quite impactful. But other than that, that's it. And obviously, there is obviously the Bank of Japan stuff. So we'll have a look at the yen in a minute. But the yen mystery, still not doing anything. Stuck. So there's your news. That's what's going on this week and next week. So it's basically every single day we've got something important happening. Tomorrow, Wednesday and Thursday. So today and Friday, sparse. So all the volume should come midweek, all the movement this week. So not expecting the world to move very much today. Aussie New Zealand is your only ADR hit today. That is an ADR hit as well. So the market opened back up again where it shut. So that is an ADR hit. Again, load more buying coming in on that Aussie today. So big, strong push up on the Australian dollar, straight into ADR, straight off of ADR as well. So great reaction at ADR. Reversal alert wasn't particularly quick. It was a bit of a difficult one this morning because of that massive spike into ADR. But it's retesting now, so potentially might unravel, but very strong Aussie at the minute. So we'll see what happens. And New Zealand. Morning, everybody else. Morning, Kennelly, Grateful Buster. Morning, Neo, Gregors. How are we doing? So that's your only ADR hit today. The RSIs, there's not much happening on the hourlies apart from the Euro Swiss, but you can see there's quite a lot of 4 hourlies. So I'm going to go through all the pairs this morning anyway and have a look at everything. There's an awful lot of stuff which is fairly stretched over a long period of time, mainly Aussie related. But the main opportunity from an H1 perspective is this one, which is literally reversing right now. You just had a reverse alert on M5 and it's starting to rally quite hard. Let's just see if this is the Swiss franc or the euro. So Swiss franc powering up, as you'd expect after a massive dump like this. I mean, the Swissie's been dead for 2 days, look. So really good mean reversion opportunity if you want to trade the Swiss. I'm just out of the Swiss at the minute. But lovely area as well on the US, look. So the Euro Swiss, basically, that is massively extended. We're above the 80 level on RSI. It's basically a 2-day rally we've had against the Swiss franc. So Thursday last week, Friday last week, they really sold the Swiss franc off completely. Following a fairly decent move beforehand as well. So you can look at this at least as that for a retracement. That's going to be your next resistance, which is this propulsion gap. So you've got a 175 ADR move to the downside potentially before you hit any real resistance that could turn into more buying action. But you could look at the entire move as well, which just gives you kind of that much extra room, which is roughly an ADR. So yeah, good opportunity. That's coming down right now. So 15-minute reversal alert has just kicked in as well. Look. So shorts, easy run down into there, but probably further than that. So we'll see what happens with that one today. Your pound Swiss is also extended. So if you look at all the Swiss franc pairs, they're all extended after this multi-day run against it. So all good mean reversion opportunities. CAD Swiss, very nice as well. That's an ADR back into there. Look. Got that double top, propulsion gap, ADR hit to the downside. Kind of tempted to take these, but I'm not. Told myself I'm not trading the Swiss at the minute. I'm waiting to see what they do with their next interest rates or some indication of what's going on. But from a safe haven perspective as well, if there is any news that kicks off today, i.e. Iran suddenly turns around and blames Israel for shooting that helicopter down or anything, the Swiss franc is going to power up like crazy. So it's not only extended and ready for a profit take move, it's also obviously got potential for a safe haven run today, but we'll see. So yeah, good opportunity for shorts on that. So all of the Swiss franc pairs, as you can see, New Zealand Swiss, Pound Swiss, Euro Swiss, CAD Swiss, Aussie Swiss, massively extended on the 4 hours as well. Yeah, because we had that big, strong, not the US dollar Swiss. That's the only one that isn't. But we had that big, strong rally. So we're up at almost at 90 New Zealand Swiss. Look, that's your potential. Watch that monthly high there. But it's 225 ADR to the downside. So much downside. And bear in mind, we've got news this week on the Aussie and New Zealand as well. So those look good for shorts. Really good. New Zealand dollar, obviously, Wednesday morning. So you've got a couple of days before news. And that news could well just tank that, couldn't it? So all this movement at the moment on these Aussies and these New Zealands, it's all basically they're commodity pairs. So any rise in commodity prices they tend to react to, which is why we've had a fairly decent run on them, specifically the New Zealand dollar. Had to do some more drawdown control on that on Friday, but yeah, it's coming down quite nicely now. Starting to. Right, so there's your RSIs. As I said, ADRs, not really much today, just the one on the Aussie New Zealand. So we'll whiz through all the pairs this morning and see where everything is. Morning, Yoko. Straw's noisy this morning. First barbecue of the year yesterday as well. Sun's come out in the UK. It's amazing. Right. So starting off with the Aussies. Obviously, we've got the Aussie movement potentially. There's potential tomorrow morning, but I doubt it. But the main Aussie New Zealand movement is going to be on Wednesday. So these guys tend to move together, Aussie and New Zealand. And when one has news, it tends to impact the other, obviously not as much as it impacts that. So in this case, the New Zealand has the news, so the Aussie will move not as much as the New Zealand dollar will. But so Wednesday morning, we've got potential for movement. So we could well see just a range form today and tomorrow. We're going to rotation, a la that, while we're waiting for the news event to come out. So we had this massive weekly or over a week accumulation out of this propulsion gap. This is all news. So it's literally, it's news, stuck. We had a bit of movement there. Then we got news coming. So it could go either way. But yeah, I don't expect to go anywhere this week. We had an RSI extension there. As you can see, I got in short on that one last week, which played out very nice and easy. So nice, quick, easy RSI M5 mean reversion on that last week. We're double topping today, and it's already rejected at the double top from last week. So there's potential for an entry. You've already had the reversal alert, but since the reversal alert kicked in, it's not gone anywhere. So that one's stuck at the minute, but could well drop back in. So if this is going to be a false breakout, price discovery failure, they will just bring it back inside that range, and then typically they will try to go the other way. They'll come and test this area down here. So we'll see what happens with that one this week, but if it pulls back into that range, it's probably a short. Aussie dollar Swiss. We know the Swissies massively extended. I have a line on the chart there from some other pair. So we got this high coming up, Aussie Swiss, that propulsion gap, which is 225 ADR. So there's plenty of room to the upside still on this one if it's going to double top off that level, if we're going to find any limits. But that's a really old level. That's going back to May last year. This is 12 months ago. So I suspect there's not a massive amount of volume sitting at that level. So as you can see, since we had the last safe haven run on the Swiss there, it's been very weak. as you would expect it to be, because they dropped interest rates before everybody else. So this is why I'm a little bit cautious about doing anything with the Swiss at the moment, because it should be very weak. We're not seeing signs of massive weakness. We're seeing a lot of sitting around again. So this thing could just squeeze anyway, any direction basically at the moment. So at the minute, it's a lovely short because it's extended on the hourly and the 4 hourly. So they're all really good mean reversion opportunities, but you want to kind of secure the position if you're shorting it fairly quick, or just get out fairly quick. But that's a lovely looking short there on the Aussie Swiss. So RSI extension to the upside, 5-minute reversal alert. And obviously target any level of obvious support resistance. So 125 ADR to the downside today. You see it? And you got that high there. And obviously you got the double top, which is what got broken and added to. So somewhere around here, basically for a pullback. And then obviously it could well continue long. So we'll see what happens with that one. But a good looking short. Aussie yen. I'll quickly cover all the yen pairs in one go because it's the yen and we don't know what's going on with it. So Aussie yen today has now completed the gap fill. So the propulsion gap formed by the first intervention is now complete. The second intervention got completed within a week. This yen is dead in the water. It's just not had any impact, this intervention. Obviously, it did the job. It stopped the rally against it. But the market is gradually selling it off again. So I'm not in yens at the moment until we understand really how the interest rates are going to affect the yen moving forward, because we don't know whether or not this is just going to be a new, it's a swap pair. You long it basically for the positive swap. So the market seems to still be doing that. CAD, we haven't quite got up there yet because obviously we've had that US dollar not particularly moving very well, but it has undone the first intervention. So, the second intervention. So that's not worked. So again, it's down to you and your bias whether you think they are going to rally this yen. If it's turning into a normal instrument now that works on inflation, surely this should be weak because their interest rates are low. So we don't know what's going on with it, do we? But all weak, very, very, very weak at the moment, all these yen pairs. So hard to know what to do with any of them. New Zealand yen completely undone the intervention move, and this morning broke out of that last month's high. So dead. But obviously big move coming down so far this morning. So the yen powering up a little bit this morning. So it's very hard. Every instrument you look at with the yen, you can't actually see what's going on with the yen because it's the other instruments that are causing the moves. So we know the yen is not being bought because all of them are retracing into either the first or the second intervention. But it doesn't look to me like the yen is being moved particularly much because the New Zealand and the Aussies are all the way up here. The US dollar, we know, has been a little bit weaker and it hasn't managed to get further. So it's basically the main base currency that is moving the pair, not the cross, not the yen. So there's no more talk about anything out of Japan. We've had no more talks of intervention or anything, even though this doesn't seem to have actually done anything. They're not saying anything, tight-lipped. So really don't know what to do with this. If in doubt, stay out. So it could go either way. But we are returning back to normal ADRs now. So these ADRs are now out of the equation because we're more than 10 days. Yeah, so that's day 10. So the intervention moves are now not factored into ADR. So this is normal average daily range movement that we're in now. So you can look at ADR highs and look at ADR lows for normal mean reversion opportunities, RSIs for normal mean reversion opportunities. However, bias on this thing, no clue. So up to you if you want to trade it. From a swap percentage perspective, you want to be long in it. From a fundamental perspective, No idea. Don't think the banks have got any idea either, because they certainly don't know what to do with it, do they? This is the thing. The banks are scared to use this now because of what they've been put through here. So they've basically undone most of it, got back to break evens on the positions that they were offsided on, which is fine. But now what do? Sit there and wait. If you look at what it did before the intervention, we just sat around and waited, didn't we? But it was weak. So is that going to happen? And if it does, what happens when it gets there? Do they do that again? Can they do that again? Too many question marks. So I'm not bothering with the yen at the minute, but market structure at the moment is very different on every pair. So at the moment, we're bearish on US dollar yen. If you look at CAD yen, very much the same. If you look at the Aussie yen, really bullish. Yeah, market structure is still making new highs. So it's totally different. It's this that's in control, not that. So you treat it like your stance on the Aussie. What do you fancy for the Aussie? Do you like it long or short? If you like it short, short this. If you like it long, long this, because the yen is not doing anything. It's sitting there dead as a duck in the water. So those are all the yen pairs. No clue. Aussie New Zealand, we've had a nice big drop on this. Still not come back and tested this. So that was when they didn't change the interest rates on the New Zealand dollar. That was when they didn't change the interest rates on the New Zealand dollar. I wonder what will happen this time when they don't change the rates. We'll have to wait and see, won't we? But we'll find out at 3 o'clock on Wednesday. So right now, very difficult situation. We're bang in the middle of a range. If you're going to trade from the middle of a range, you have a 50-50 shot. If you're going to trade from the edge of a range, at least you've got limit orders on your side to help the trade move. So very difficult to pick a direction on this at the moment. You got a low at 225 ADR, which is this propulsion move. Could buy that back up again. You've got a propulsion move back up at those highs with those previous weekly highs they could sell. So when we get the news on Wednesday, it's probably going to hit one of those levels. Whether it holds or not, we'll have to just wait and see. So very hard to trade at the moment, Aussie New Zealand. Tiny ADR, it's got 40 ADR. It's not moving around much, but it's squeezing like hell at the minute. Aussie's got the upper hand. Very hard to trade, Aussie New Zealand. But no extensions at the moment. So nothing going on particularly. As you can see from RSI, look, we had a little touch there last week, but vast majority of the time we're just hovering around, not really sure what to do. And we have a couple of days of movement and then stuck. But it's unwinding this very nicely at the moment, but you haven't got far to go until you get to potential resistance today. So again, difficult one, Aussie New Zealand. Aussie US stuck. We're in this cycle of news stuck. So we're waiting for the news on Wednesday for the New Zealand dollar, which will move the Aussie. One entry on this one last week, which was a nice, easy, straight in, straight out. So yeah, just waiting for RSI extensions. It's been really easy to trade this. So yeah, all the RSI extensions working beautifully at the moment. Nice, decent movement on it. So yeah, wait for a setup basically. But this is what we get. Nothing, and then news. And the news, you get in on the news, wait for them to unwind it. CAD Swiss. So excluding the Swiss franc safe haven run there, that's your low. That's your high. You got a lower high put in there, and you got a higher low put in there. So we are contracting at the moment, symmetrical triangle pattern. So we're basically coiling, ready to break. Waiting for a news catalyst on the CAD, basically, because the Swiss franc's weak. So we're waiting for something to happen. This could go either way. But right now it's a lovely short, back down into that propulsion. See all the propulsion gaps all getting filled. Yeah. So that's a good short target to the downside. We know they re-added from that move there. So there's upside resistance coming up as well, and you've got a monthly high. So if you short this and it doesn't work out, you've got entries potentially there. We've got limit orders sitting at those levels after that 2-day run. So if it continues to go, you're going to be even further extended, and you'll take a profit take on that pullback there. But good entry there at the moment, and we've just had the reverse alert this morning, all the way up there. That was your entry, and retest. Beautiful market structure on this at the moment. Short. Euros. So euro, basically, as we had from Kazakh this morning, the June meeting is when they're going to be dropping rates. It's a kind of 95% certainty at the moment. That's what's going to happen. So we've got to wait until June the 17th. Yeah, no, that's Aussie. When was it? I've forgotten. Where's the June? Where's the rate? Am I going blind, or is it later? PMIs. European parliamentary elections as well. Oh, there it is. Yeah, sorry, 6th, June the 6th. So it's not next week, week after. Yeah, so that's when the euro rate is dropping 0.25%. Not expecting it to be more than 0.25%. So market at the moment, as you can see with all these euros, it's not massively selling it off at the moment. The main reason this has come down is because of the Australian dollar strength. So this isn't really euro weakness. If you quickly look through and flick through all the euro pairs, that's certainly not weak, is it? That's certainly not weak. That's really not very weak. That one, yes, because again, commodity pairs are rallying. So euro is dropping against Aussie and New Zealand. Against the US, certainly not weak. So market, when it tends to have an interest rate drop coming, it tends to factor that move in usually somewhere between anything from 2 to 6 weeks before the news event. We see that start to price in. So they price the move in ahead of the news. So they're basically saying, right, interest rates are going to come down in 2 weeks' time. So let's start selling our euro, because obviously we want to put that money somewhere else that's going to make a better move. So we should expect, I think, a good continuation drop for a good few weeks now on the euro. So we're up at highs here against the US dollar. All these euro pairs that have been kind of in these big wide ranges or pushing up should now start to drop off. So Australian dollar, if you get any pushes up into RSI highs, shorts, yeah, so good looking short opportunities. So what I'm going to be doing is from today, I'm going to be turning all the EAs onto short only mode for euro, because there's absolutely no reason why you can't take a long, I don't think, on the euro. It's just that you'll find that the moves down will probably be faster, harder and stronger, and possibly go on for a little bit longer than the pullbacks. So if we're expecting something to go into a gradual trend down, yeah, the drops are harder than the pops. That's what a trend is. A bigger drop than a pullback. A bigger drop than a pullback. That's what market structure is. So if we're expecting the euro to be bearish, you can still take these, obviously. When it gets down extended, you can take them long. Not a problem. But if that turns into a flag rather than a pullback, you might find you're getting into multiple positions on them. The shorts, you shouldn't really need to take more than 2 to 3 positions short, and it should play out if it's going to continue, if it's going to start to trend down. So short opportunities on the euros, I think, moving forward. Although, as you can see, against the Canadian dollar and the US and everything else, it's rallying at the moment because they're weak. But had a reverse alert and a retest there, so potentially we start to turn around. So good looking short opportunity. I'm already short on this from last week. No, I'm not. Where am I short from? There. Oh, look at that. Just Euro CAD. just got an entry on that 70 RSI extension last week. So in one short, could have got out of it last week, but they bought the propulsion gap back up again, but we haven't broken the high. So looking to short down into there. Euro Swiss, all Swiss franc pairs basically massively weakened at the moment. So the problem with the Euro Swiss is it's, again, like the Aussie New Zealand, like the US dollar CAD, like the Euro pound, they tend to move a lot together. So you tend to get a lot of this, and very, very tight ranges, 37 ADR. So very nicely extended, but you're probably not going to find you're going to get that. You're going to get that. It tends to take ages for everything to play out on these pairs, as you can see by that one there. Yeah, shorts, I think, but obviously this one specifically is a short against a short. So the Swiss have reduced their interest rates already unexpectedly. The Euro are planning to reduce their interest rates. Therefore, a too short bias means a sideways move. Yeah. If you get a short against a long, you've got a reason to trend. If you've got a short against a short, or a long against a long, they will both push and pull against each other, which means they tend to go sideways. So there's a good chance this one might just sit around. But at the moment, it's very, very extended. So good looking short opportunity. Euro pound started to come down over the last week. Again, there you go. So there's a prime example. 25 ADR. Just doesn't move. Tiny. So that entry there took 5 days to unravel. And now we're back down RSI lows. So I've got a long on there, pushing back up into that propulsion. So it might have to take a second when we come back down to here, but that's probably going to be 2 or 3 days away. It will take another 3 or 4 days to unravel. Yeah, so it takes a long time to get in and out of these ones. But this one, I don't think you have a problem going either direction on, specifically because it's the Euro pound and they move together a lot of the time. So you tend to get a lot of sideways movement. Also, we've got the pound. If those CPI numbers come out as a target, 2.1 year on year this week, or less, which I doubt, but that will get those interest rate chatter about dropping earlier going, which will weaken the pound. So you're going to have a pound which is going to start to weaken soon against the euro, which is going to weaken soon. So you can trade this in any direction, really. If it gets a strong move in one direction, it's likely to be news, which will likely get undone like that. So I don't mind taking this one in either direction. Euro New Zealand, that one has been shorting already based off of the same as the Euro odd. Yeah, it's coming down based off the commodity pairs having rallies. So look for any pullbacks to the upside into that area, that propulsion for shorts. Any RSI extensions to the upside, like that one there for shorts. We have got this propulsion move. This is the New Zealand dollar interest rate change. We have got this area which is likely to act as a support. So again, it all depends what happens with this euro, how weak they weaken the euro. The difference between the euro and I think most other pairs is the Europeans are also always very open with what they're planning to do with interest rates. They tell the market everything. They've told us that they're not going to come down every month on interest rates, which means that we've got a June drop, a July freeze, and then an August potentially drop, assuming that inflation carries on the same way it's going. So the strength of drop on this euro is probably not going to be as strong as you'll find on things like the US dollar. So I think there's a good chance that the market structure may be fairly decent on this one as it comes down, but it could also be news, interest rate stuck, news, interest rate stuck, the same as we've seen before, because they won't do anything for a month. So it's going to be a very tricky one, I think, but overall bearish. It just might take ages. So if it does hit that level, there's a chance we might get stuck in an accumulation down here because it's unlikely the New Zealanders will have enough power to push it away. But we'll see. Euro US dollar. already short on this one with 2 positions from last week. Yeah, last week. So got in on that initial entry, got in on the 80 extension. Oh yeah, so I had 3 positions on this. I took one off on the news last week. So I took 1 profit there. So I'd be looking to get into another short if it pushes up into the weekly high. So if we get up into there, I'll be shorting it again. The average is at ADR anyway. So if I can get out down there, that is profit on those 2 positions. That one's already banked anyway. So, but yeah, still short on this. However, that's US dollar. We don't know what's going on with that at all, do we? So this will just get massive movement, US, at any shape, anytime, basically. It will have big spiky moves on news, and then nothing tends to come from that news, as we know. So they go, brilliant, inflation is bouncing, therefore we should expect it to drop next time. Then it pops, we get this massive news event, and then the market goes, well, nothing's changed, is it? And it undoes it. So you get weeks of pain, and then it undoes the whole thing, which is what we've been seeing with this US dollar for a while. So I don't think there's any reason why this shouldn't continue to go sideways. It's just how big is the range going to be? Yeah, so it's overall bearish, but after that massive drop that we had with that US dollar rally, and we realized, no, we're not going to do the interest rates. And then, hang on, we are going to bring the interest rates forward. And then it's like, no, we're not going to do the interest rates. Yeah. Euro weakness, US dollar not changing interest rates, strength. Short. So good looking short opportunity. You've got a monthly high, which is within reach this week, 300 ADR. So I doubt whether it will try and get up there, but all depends what happens in news. But looks like a lovely short opportunity from where we are. So in short on that one. Pound, that kind of says it all. We have no idea what's going on with the pound, which is why it's important that we speak to Bailey. Listen to Bailey this week on Tuesday, tomorrow evening. So we've got Bailey speaking, and then we've got the CPI numbers annually for the pound. So we are forecasting a 1% drop year on year, which is huge. So there's a very good chance that we will get a decent move down on that, but we still don't know when those interest rate drops are going to happen. So at the moment, the market is factoring in interest rate drops are coming, and before the end of the year, before the end of the summer. So sometime August, maybe September. So too early to be really bearish on this. So kind of can trade in any direction at the moment. But again, it's very much like the rest. News event, sit around. News event, sit around. News event, sit around. Yeah. So we get a big news event. We have a couple of days worth of movement, and then it obviously goes into accumulations again. Oh, wow. We haven't had a spammer in here for ages. Hi, Rageous 2K1. Number 1 meme coin coming, everybody. Let's invest in crypto scams. Idiot. Twitter Square Sword. Obviously illiterate as well. Okay. Get rid of you. What should we do with him? Should we report him? Yeah, let's report him for child abuse, hate speech, promoting terrorism. It's crypto. No, let's just call him spam. Bye-bye. Morning, everybody else. I haven't said a morning to it. It's only his met stand up. And Jazz, how are you doing? Crypto. Is people still really falling for crypto pumps? Are they still a thing? They never were a thing, let's face it. So yeah, pound odd. Totally stuck sideways for the last 2 weeks. Who knows? But RSI is working pretty well. Well, I say pretty well. You wouldn't have gone out of that, would you? Because you just sat in it. But yeah, stuck. Totally stuck. So we don't know what's happening with the pound moving forward. As you can see, neither does the market. So all these pound pairs at the moment, very, 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 very rangy. So you can trade them in any direction, really. At the moment, it seems like most of the time it's the other currency pushing the pound around because we don't know what we're doing with it. We seem to be looking like we're going to drop interest rates in the next few months. And if you listen to the news in the UK, it varies wildly as to when that's going to be, which is why the market's sitting around unsure what to do. So a lot of range-bound activity. That pushes, obviously, Swiss franc weakness there. But all of them pretty much should be able to take in any direction at the moment. So I'm in pound New Zealand long at the moment. I've got 4 on this at the moment. Because, same as usual, news stuck. Yeah. Just news stuck. That's what we tend to get so much at the moment. If they don't play out within a couple of days, like that one, yeah, they just seem to sit around for weeks. So 2 days worth of absolutely nothing on at the end of last week. The week before didn't go anywhere. We had 3 days worth after the news of nothing. Yeah, so we do know that that propulsion gap they added to their positions. So we know that that is a genuine short move. However, we haven't managed to get back to it to retest it. And now we're coming back out of the previous propulsion move, which is the New Zealand dollar interest rate, which they definitely bought up. And it seems to be they're buying it again. So this one, we're going to find out what happens to this on Wednesday morning when the New Zealand interest rates change. Hopefully, they start talking about dropping interest rates. So, but they're not going to do it. So we'll see what happens. It seems to me that what we tend to get with these interest rates for the New Zealand at the moment is the opposite move. So we've had a sell on the New Zealand, we've had a buy on the New Zealand. So in theory, we should get a sell on the New Zealand this time. Who knows? So yeah, just in that at the moment. But we've got a nice area coming up to the downside where we know there's a lot of buying pressure, which we're sitting in at the moment, and it seems to be holding. So if it does drop down into this area, you're going to find some support to try and drive it back up again. And that's where you'll be headed, which is where my target is. So like that one. And short on the pound against the US dollar. Nice RSI extension from last week. We did have a little bit of a pullback, but it was just a flag, which is now broken back to the upside. So possibly heading up into the 175 ADR level. But we'll see this massive drop we had for 2 days here. We'll see if there's any more sells in there. But plenty of downside targets to aim for. And also plenty of upside targets to aim for. So this could go all the way up to there. It could get stuck here and market structure remain short after this double top, which is where we are right now, look. So that's the monthly high we're reacting off today. So good looking short opportunity today specifically because it is a monthly high reaction from Friday, which failed. We've tested it again this morning. They've sold it again. So we know they're selling the monthly high, whether or not they can get through that propulsion move from Friday. If they can, then we'll come back down and test there, which is where I'm out. So looks good for shorts, specifically from a technical perspective. Double top. And obviously extended on RSI. We've got divergence as well, look. We've got bearish divergence. So everything's pointing downside on this. And also they'll probably want to undo some of that move if they are going to rally back up. So pounds very neutral at the moment. You can kind of take them in either direction. If we get RSI extensions on the pounds, either way should work at the moment because there's no change on interest rates on the pounds until end of the summer. So at the moment, that could obviously change very much, very quickly. So those are all the pounds. New Zealand dollar, we know, has been rallying like crazy. Got short on this one. Scaled out of a little bit more on this on Friday. Excuse me. So again, news, extension, entry, sideways for 8 days or so. News, now we're sideways again. So I'm hoping basically we can get down to retest this old range high. That's my target, this propulsion move. So if we can get back down into there, that's fine. I'm out. But done 3 DD controls on this now. One there. one there, and on that position there as well. So just again, news stuck. This is what we seem to be getting at the moment. Market structure. I should change my name, shouldn't I, to the news stuck trader. Yeah, market structure, which we've had for decades and decades and decades, it's been replaced by what the hell we're doing with interest rates. Hey, look, they said something. This is trading at the moment. This is the reality of trading at the moment. It's sitting through these nothings, basically, isn't it? So we got news, plenty of news this week. So fingers crossed that New Zealand dollar, they put the sell order in on it this time because they put a buy order in it last time. Absolutely no reason for any of it, but that's what they're doing. So we'll see what happens. But yeah, good looking short at the moment. Again, divergence, bearish divergence, and an obvious area to come and retest. So good for shorts. New Zealand dollar Swiss, we know this is just Swiss franc weakness. So if you do want to trade the Swiss franc at the moment, obviously it's massively extended. You've got, again, lovely bearish divergence. Divergence everywhere at the moment. So relative strength dropping on the currency, making new highs. So again, this is bearish. So we are making new highs on lower strength, meaning that this move is just getting exhausted because there aren't people selling. So you're having to reach further to find those orders. Eventually you won't find anybody, and that's when the drop comes in. That's what divergence is. So yeah, potentially good looking short opportunity on that one. New Zealand US, big push up on the news last week. Got this one short as well. 3 on this at the moment. Average is 125 ADR. Again, news, nothing. Stuck. News, nothing. Just waiting for the news on Wednesday. But again, bearish divergence, double top high, weakening. So there's no strength in this market, hence not being able to get through that high. We've had a reversal retest, but just no interest, no buyers, no sellers, no nothing. So we just sit around and exchange orders until we're ready for somebody to make a move, which will be on Wednesday. US dollar CAD, longs on this one at the moment. Again, US dollar CAD, Aussie New Zealand, Euro Pound, Euro Swiss, they move very much together. So you tend to get ranges. It's just how big are those ranges, basically. So if one of them has a fundamental advantage against the other, you get a bigger push, but it usually undoes it all. There's no advantage to fast currency movement in trade partners, basically, which is why the pound doesn't tend to move fast or grind particularly. Neither does the US dollar CAD, neither does the Aussie New Zealand, because they're trade partners. If your currency is massively stronger than the other one, I'm not going to bother to trade with you. All right, fine. That's basically what the scenario is with trade partners. So not a lot of movement. So I'm long on this at the moment because we're down at the lows of the range. We're down in this propulsion gap. They've added to this propulsion gap multiple times. We know there's buyers down here. We just need a few more of them to drive it up a little bit further. But market structure, obvious. So it's just very weak range to the downside. So looking for that little push up. But, you know, again, just can't seem to get anywhere at the moment. Literally, my average on 3 positions is within ADR. We can't even get to ADR. It's just pitiful, this market at the moment. The movement is just stranded, basically. So I'm just looking to target last week's high. That propulsion gap basically is upside where you're going to find sellers there or there if we're going to retain bearish market structure. So we'll either do that or we'll do that if we're going to do that. So at the moment, longs looking for shorts when we get back up into these areas. As you can see, shorted it there, longed it there, shorted it there, longed it there. We got some news. So stuck, as everything is. US dollar Swiss, again, very difficult. Nice V-shaped recovery last week. Didn't go anywhere. Came back up to where we started. So same as last week. Good chance we'll come and test this propulsion gap. So more weakness on the Swiss franc potentially to get it there. Or we need some strength on that US dollar. US dollar, we're not actually going to get any. Actually, we'll move off the CAD CPI tomorrow probably. So there's a chance we'll get movement tomorrow afternoon off the CPI numbers, but actual news for the US dollar is in the form of FOMC on Wednesday. That's your first potential moving event for the US dollar. And then obviously we've got PMIs on Thursday. So nothing really should move on this to Wednesday, Thursday, unless we get a very big reaction to that. If we do, the US dollar will get dragged along with the CAD. So there is potential for movement there tomorrow. But right now it's a lovely short from that high. Come back into these propulsion gaps to the downside. If not, we'll head up into that area and then we'll look for sellers there, or we'll just completely undo that and form a large range. Yeah. Same stuff. It's just filling propulsion gaps. It's all the market's doing at the moment. It's just, sometimes it's just taking forever to do it at the minute because there's no reason to drive the market in any direction because it's all about interest rates. And this guy keeps changing his mind every 5 minutes. And this guy says, and just does it anyway. So totally erratic. So very difficult to know what's going to happen with the US dollar Swiss, but it will be going up into there or it will come back down into these areas here. So right now it's a short off of last Friday's entry. So if you took this one on Friday, you're short at the moment. If it just gets stuck and we get some news which drives up into there, you'll be obviously just scaling in and getting out when it comes back down. And we've covered the yen, which potentially it's starting to look a little bit, it's very difficult because that's a spike, but kind of looking like it might pop again, but have they got the power to do it? We will see. Stuck. So there we go. That's everything. It's all about the Swiss franc at the moment. So we'll see what happens with that. Swissy. So best opportunities at the moment are shorts on everything against the Swiss because of that weak run. They should start to unravel some of that. And obviously with the euro weakening, the euro will bring the Swiss franc down with it as well. So there is a lot more chance, I think, if they start that euro drop this week ahead of the interest rates, that the Swissy may also weaken with it. But it's kind of got its own life at the moment, the Swissy, so it could go either way. But looks good for at least coming to retest some previous support on all these Swissies. But so far this morning, looked like it was starting, didn't it? And now it's decided to go the other way again. We'll see. But yeah, you just need to bear that in mind with the Swiss. Obviously, if the euro does weaken, that Swiss will weaken, which will go that way. But who knows? This market is very, very, very unpredictable at the moment. We've got some earnings this week. Nvidia this week. Let's just see what happened with the DAX this morning. Ooh, right. Oh, we did get some movement in the end. So out the FTSE. So TP1 hit on the FTSE, trailing the second half. Not even got to 2R yet. Just about got a 2R break to the upside if you took it on DAX, but the ranges were so tiny. And it took 35 minutes, really, to get a proper breakout this morning. Not really worth bothering with today, is it? So there we go. Anybody got anything else they want to discuss? Copper remains stretched to the long side. And once again, here we need to keep the lagged data in mind. So copper there. This is why the Aussie and the New Zealand are currently rallying. Coming up into the highs. Last time we were here was post-COVID, 2021. Pre-COVID highs, basically, is where we're approaching. So good chance that will start to unravel that copper price as well, which will obviously start to bring that Aussie and that New Zealand back down again as well. This blue stuff on here, it just seems to pump out data, doesn't it? Which is fine. But why is it in blue? Why do we need to know all of this information? And why is it in blue? Why not just put it out as normal news? Right, that's all I've got for this morning, really. So this week, live rooms are going to be alternating as usual. So today, London session, we're going to do 1:15 tomorrow afternoon to watch that CAD CPI number. 8 o'clock, look at the New Zealand interest rates, look at the pound CPI number. 2:30 on Thursday, we've got the US dollar PMIs, and we'll look at what happened with the European PMIs in the morning. And then 8 o'clock on Friday, we've got retail numbers for the pound. That's the only thing happening on Friday this week. There, we got Jordan speaking as well, but I doubt they will do anything. And then we got usual rubbish on Friday, apart from Michigan. So it's a very mixed week this week. There's a lot of opportunity all week for stuff to go in either direction. So just normal market movement, really, waiting for things to do something at the end of the day, which would be lovely. So up 9% this month, 7% drawdown. Nothing in any problems, really. Just waiting. Again, just waiting for stuff. The usual thing, isn't it? Just stuck, sitting, waiting. Everything is taking forever. I just want these interest rate drops to start. And this is obviously the first one we've got happening with this euro starting in a couple of weeks. Hopefully that will start everybody's gradually kicking in. So by the end of summer, I think we'll be back to normal market movement once we've got through the summer. I mean, what the hell's summer going to be like? This summer, because summer we have contracted volume. Contracted volume on contracted volume. Is it even going to be worth bothering? Who knows? We will wait and see. So yeah, we'll see what happens. But yeah, next week is obviously a very quiet week in the UK. We've got school holidays going on. So I'm off next week. I will post that up on the lives. But I will be around. I'm not going anywhere. So I will still be around. I'll be monitoring positions and stuff. So I will be active in Telegram and Discord, but going to go out and do bits and pieces because it's a very quiet week next week. Okay, so that's all I've got today. Anything you need, let me know in Discord or Telegram. I'll be back on tomorrow at 1:15, and we will look at those CAD CPI figures. I'm going to be working on more analysis today on the RSI2 strategy, figuring out what to do with it and how to do something with it, which is finding very tricky at the minute because there's too many opportunities in it, but I'll see what I can figure out. And then I'll post something basically when I decide what I'm going to do. But can't pick from 30,000 positive results. It's very hard, but we'll see. So I want to find something that's going to work long term. So I think low drawdown is what I'm going to focus on. So I want to run some more tests on that over the next couple of days. And probably next week I'll be able to put a bit more time into it as well. So we'll see. All right. So anything you need, let me know. Oh, by the way, I've also started a new broker. I've updated the website to recommended brokers. Global Prime. I've just opened an account with them. I was looking for basically a broker for US customers because they can't use Forex with decent leverage. So there are ways to get that leverage from the US with Global Prime. You'll need to contact them. So I've put them up on the website as well. I've opened an account with them, stuck $1,000 in it to test. And also the beautiful thing is you can deposit using so many payment methods. They take PayPal, for example. So yeah, really good. They've been around as long as I've been trading. They've been around about 13 years. So they're a well-established broker. Spreads look pretty good. Commissions pretty good. There's a raw spread account, which is 0 spread, with $7 round trip commission, which is good. Execution so far on the account that I opened last week is great. So I will see. But they're kind of my backup broker now from Robo Forex. So I'm running an account with them. You can trade everything on them as well. They literally have everything instrument-wise. So I haven't used them before. So I've been aware of them forever. I just have never used them. So I will monitor them, assuming that the account that I've got with them is fine and it executes. All I'm doing is I'm running $1,000 account basically just to start off with, just to see. I'm just running the market reversal alerts here just to take trades to make sure it all works fine. The only downside to them is you can only trade 0.1 lots on indices. That's the only downside. So they're not good for index trading. Darwin X is still the best for that. That's the only downside is you can't do you can do 0.01s on everything else, but you can only do 0.1s on indices. So they're not good for indices. The spreads are pretty mediocre on indices as well. So just to let you know, if you are looking for an alternate broker, there's a link on the website. But yeah, other than that, that's all I got. So I will see you guys tomorrow if you're around. If not, back on Wednesday morning. We'll see where the market goes this week. Anything you need, Discord or Telegram. Have a good day.